I'm Gavin, and welcome to MLS Fantasy Picks.
Hey everyone, in today's video we'll go through a recap of round 5 as well as MLS Fantasy learnings from round 5, some key considerations for round 6, and of course our player picks and tiers featuring our friends from the Dropping Points podcast. So taking a look at round 5, so finally a good week. It was good to see the luck turn around with the positive side. So yeah, some big points all around, only a couple duds. So I ended the round with 95 points last week, so I was happy with that, a week rank of 652 and an overall rank of 406. So glad to see that increase in rank over the weekend. And my team value also increased 4.6 million. So now my team value is sitting at 119.8 million. So let's take a look at the squad, see how we did. So yeah, I had some big points from the squad here, only a couple duds, which is great to see. My switcheroos really haven't been hitting at all this year, so I'm hoping that also changes. I was good with the scores on the field, but the switcheroo is there to help you, get a good amount of points with those early games. And yeah, they haven't really been hitting, helped with my budget a bit this past weekend. So yeah, Loon, a 4 was good. He had a lot of good saves, but yeah, they let in some goals, or let in a goal against Philly. So at least got me a price rise. Edwards was a flop as well, and Choupo-Moting only got me that too. So unfortunate to see. But on the field, Bauer, what what a hit! That was sort of um, starting whoever was in place of Nahar. So that 14 was good to see. Bombino only 4.0 got you a 4, so that's great to see. Fry with the 7, and then Evander Ojeda absolutely turned it up. I wish I did captain Evander. I thought about it, but I sort of played it safe with Rusnak. So 7, not awful for a captain, but you really want to look for those breakout players when you are captaining. Also, thanks for everyone for those messages as games were going on about your Evander captain hitting. So I'm always happy to hear when the recommendations that I put out end up working out. So yeah, glad the Evander captain worked out for you guys. And yeah, Benteke with the 6, good to see that. I don't even think he got the assist, and then Navarro with a disappointing 2. So yeah, I might be fading away from Mihailovic and Navarro moving forward. A 4 is okay, but not the floor that you really want to see from your middies. And let's take a quick look at our MLS Fantasy Picks leagues, our open league. I think we've got a bit of a change up in the top 5. We've got Clover Street Ultras, huge score with a 117, well done. Daniel's Dogs in second, Latte with extra loth, love that. At number 3, not don't know how to pronounce that one, and then Dart FC in fifth. So congrats to the top 5. Now top over to our head-to-head. So we've currently got Clover Street Ultras again, some familiar faces here. Matty Lip, Doncaster FC, Arsenal, and Billy Joel's Waterman. So we've got only 12 remaining undefeated teams currently. I think I'm sitting at 28th overall. So yeah, well done everyone. All right, so let's hop over to our MLS fantasy learnings or takeaways from the past round. So with the Cincinnati and Atlanta game, so Evander looks good. Is he the same Evander that we knew from last year? Only time will tell, so I'm going to look for that consistency. Latte Lath is looking good, though he is pretty goal dependent. Not too many bonus points from him in that last game. Minnesota, LA, Yaboa definitely took advantage of his chances, so he's, looking good this year, finishing where he needs to. I'm still going to avoid the Galaxy for the time being, at least, selecting players from them. Maybe you could target teams playing them since they are in CONCACAF Champions League and probably will be rotating. Um, Charlotte versus San Jose, that defense at home is still quite strong. I think they just had an unfortunate penalty, which gave up that clean sheet. Had a good game from Pep Biel. I'm not sure how consistent that will be, but I would love to see it as he's not too expensive. And then Arango, I don't know if you guys saw, ranked up a crazy amount of bonus points for San Jose, so keep an eye on that. And what's even crazier is Espinoza had 21 key passes for this game in San Jose. So obviously that's like 5 bonus points, I believe. Okay, so we're at Espinoza. Um, 21 key passes, so I think it's 4 key passes to get a point. So that's 5 points straight up from key passes. So I don't know how consistent that'll be, but he had 14 the previous week. So yeah, keep an eye out for Espinoza. And then moving right along to our Columbus versus NYC game, Chiberko, Herrera look at defensively. Not too much from NYC. New York Red Bull, Toronto. So it's good to know that Forsberg is on PKs. I think when Choupo-Moting took that last one, just to sort of get him going, get his first goal, and he won that PK. So I'm expecting Forsberg to be on PKs moving forward. Still avoiding picking Toronto players, but pick the teams that are playing against them. Orlando, Freeman for defense is still a good look even without the clean sheet. He had a goal and assist, so he's on the attacking side and he's quite cheap. The three attackers of Muriel, Ojeda, and Pasalic are looking quite strong, at least against this DC squad. So Muriel even had some bonus points. Ojeda is pretty much a lock every round, it's looking like. Pasalic had a crazy strike for a goal. And yeah, Benteke is still a solid look. Philly and St. Louis, even their B team that Philly had out still looked really good. They actually absolutely took over St. Louis. They really couldn't get settled. Wagner, always a good look for Philly. It was also good to note Quinn Sullivan had plenty of BPs or bonus points when the starters were out for Philly, so he could be a good look should players get caught up in the future. St. Louis kind of looked bad in that game. Definitely still a team to look at from a fantasy perspective moving forward, but a rough game against Philly. Still avoiding picking players from SKC. LAFC is rotating, so just keep an eye on lineups. Hollingshead looked really good that game for LAFC, so yeah, keep an eye out for him. Nashville, Hani looks great. Still avoid picking Montreal players, but definitely the teams that are playing against Montreal, be sure to target those teams. As I said before, Mihailovic and Navarro have been letting me down. I'm not picking them on the right week, so I may be fading them in the future. DaCosta is definitely the guy for Portland, and Moreno for Portland also looked quite dangerous. For RSL, I'm still avoiding picking players from RSL. Acosta did look better this game for Dallas, so I will keep an eye on him moving forward. Reagan for Seattle had some really good passing bonus points. Rusnak is still a bonus point king. Houston without McGlynn, again, avoid this. I mean, I'm avoiding picking players from the majority. If the matchups and lineups look good, though, maybe you could have a sneaky McGlynn or Bossy pick. Vancouver, Chicago. Kuipers for Chicago is still looking strong. His supporting players like Zinkernagel and Bamba seem pretty goal dependent. They didn't really have a lot of bonus points. And then from the Vancouver side, they are rotating a bit, so just keep an eye on lineups. And then finishing out with Austin and San Diego. So I would keep an eye on Brandon Vasquez. He is a great player. It's just taken some time to get settled in Austin. He's only 7.3. He had a really composed goal. Yeah, so keep an eye on them if they're trending in the right direction. And then Owen Wolf for Austin also had a good amount of bonus points. He's only 7.2 with a decent floor. So yeah, if he's playing that 10 position, I think I forget Uzuni, I don't know, the main guy they just signed in Austin, he was out. So I think, yeah, Wolf is really stepping up. And then for San Diego, Dreyer, still the bonus point king. So key considerations for the round, as always. So I did want to call it out. So CONCACAF Champions Cup is picking back up next week on April 1st and April 2nd. So the teams, MLS teams playing are still the Galaxy, Vancouver, LAFC, and Inter Miami. So I don't know if they'll be, rotating some of their players this weekend, sort of to rest them for the upcoming games next week. So just keep that in mind. When lineups come out, no teams on bye this week. And as always, keep an eye out for those injuries and suspensions. MLS releases those official reports the day before matches. All right, so let's hop over to our player picks featuring the Dropping Points podcast.
Cool. So welcome everyone to our player picks section of today's video. I'm honored to be joined with Blake here from the Dropping Points podcast. So awesome to have Blake here. Brian, unfortunately, couldn't make it tonight, so miss you, Brian. But we'll see you soon. So yeah, Blake, if you want to give a quick intro and background in MLS Fantasy.
Yeah, Gavin, first and foremost, thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it. It's our second guest appearance as a fantasy podcast, so we're super stoked to be kind of doing some of this outreach and hitting different markets and hitting some of your loyal fans. So we're getting into some new ears. So thank you for that opportunity, first and foremost. And yeah, just a little bit about dropping points. We started the show probably 3 years ago. Brian and I met when I was still doing the MLS Gone Wild show. He was starting Top End 90 down in Charlotte, and they were looking at doing some team previews, and they invited me on because I'm a Crew fan and I'm a pretty nerdy crew fan, as you can tell if you guys listen to dropping points. Like
Yep.
we're talking about non-penalty expected goals per 90, you name it, dropping stats that only nerds really care about. And I was dropping that on their show, and they reached out and they're like, "Hey, you're not really doing MLS Gone Wild anymore. Do you want to do, a fantasy show?" And fantasy is always something that I've played ever since, probably 2015 or so. I've always kind of been in the game. Um, been a pretty loyal participant of the game, and they reached out and said, "Do you want to, do this show with Brian?" I was like, "Yeah." Me and Brian had good banter back and forth on the guest spots that I did on Top End 90, and we felt like it was a good fit, so we ran with it. We didn't really have any idea of, how we would structure the show, and we were trying to think of some fun ways, because that's one thing that we kind of aim to do in the Dropping Points show. It's like, yes, we bring you all these nerdy stats, and we want you guys to, have the best experience and really get the most out of what we're providing you on the show so you can take it and get your best score. But we also want you to have fun while you're listening to the show. We want you to have fun while you're playing the game, so we segmented it and fragmented it up into a way where it's digestible and a kind of a fun way and a fun spin on this fantasy. So Brian has done a great job. I think we as a team have done a great job, and I'm forever grateful that they gave me another avenue to talk about soccer other than what I was doing on MLS Gone Wild. So it's been a fun ride, and we're just going to keep pushing this thing forward alongside you, Gavin, MLS Fantasy Insiders, and everybody else that's trying to grow the game of MLS Fantasy.
But yeah, thanks, Blake. I mean, my buddy told me about you guys a couple years ago when I started the channel. Yeah, I listen to you every week. As Blake was saying, it's just a really fun take on MLS and MLS fantasy. You get into the stats that I don't really look into as much, so it just helps me. I'll set my first lineup, give it a listen, and I'll actually make a change here or there. So yeah, for listeners of my channel, definitely recommend go subscribe to Drop In Points wherever you listen to podcasts, and also follow them on Twitter. Very active there as well. Yeah, so it's always a good time. And a
Yeah, and
quick intro. Yeah, go ahead.
what I will say, Gavin, you said you go with your first lineup. That first lineup is your best lineup. I'll say it every time. Don't change
Yes.
it. Okay, that's your gut lineup. Go with your gut.
And the thing is, I change it every week, so it hasn't been a great start for me this season. So I'm going to do my best to keep that first lineup this week. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, and then just to give a quick background on myself, I mean, my viewers as well for my channel, this may be the first time you're actually seeing me in person. So I did just post my own background vid, I think last week, just to let you know about my MLS background, MLS fantasy background. So go give that a watch if you haven't. But yeah, today's format is sort of the same. We'll go through our recommended premium, standard, and budget priced goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, forwards, and captains. So to kick us off, I'll hand over to Blake, who will go through the recommended goalkeepers for the week. So Blake, over to you.
Oh man, so this was supposed to be Brian's segment here, but he's fending off a bedtime counter attack from his children. That's why he couldn't be here tonight. So I will do my best at goalkeepers here off of the little notes that he got to get in before his kids attacked him. So some of the premium goalkeepers Brian was eyeing is Dane St. Clair. Minnesota have probably the best clean sheet odds this round against RSL. They're a pretty good team to target against. Minnesota's been one of the best defenses in the league thus far, and Dane St. Clair should be returning from international duty with Canada. Another goalkeeper that I'm taking a pretty close eye at, and he's had a huge price rise since saving a couple penalty kicks a few rounds ago, was Pantemis for
Yep.
Portland. And I think they're a pretty sneaky Sunday pick. I can get into more on them later when I talk about my defenders, but he's a bit on the pricey side. I'm still not in the business of spending too much money on my goalkeepers, but like if that's what you're interested in, Panthemis is a pretty decent option there. Those are the two premium options we have. I have a list of standard goalkeepers. Ben
Mm.
Lunt, that is the St. Louis goalkeeper. He's going to be a good option and probably what's going to be a 0-0 game in that Austin game. Two pretty good defenses. Ben Lunt is, a pretty cheap option. He's the home goalkeeper in that leg. I would take a look at him. Ivacic, if you're a sicko like me, because I'm also just how I was with Portland, I'm also kind of a Revs fan this week. It's a weird week
All
of
right.
MLS fantasy just in general. I like Ivacic at home against the New York Red Bulls. They just have some sneaky good defensive underlying numbers, and the Red Bulls haven't scored yet away from home. It could be worth a flyer in the early window on Saturday. I also have FOMO. on Saturday afternoon games. It's like I feel like I have to have a piece of every game when that's not necessarily true. That can hurt you. That's something I've learned this year. But again, FOMO strikes every single time. And I do like Ivicic and a defender in that game as well. But the better option is probably like Takaoka and one of those defenders over in Vancouver against Toronto. Chris Brady against
Yeah.
Montreal, targeting Montreal until they get to back to Montreal playing in a home match. I like Chris Brady in this matchup. I like a lot of Chicago, probably triple
Hmm.
stacking that side. And then another sneaky one because it's a weird week is Daniel versus Seattle. Seattle have been shut out, I believe, in two straight matches, haven't been great in attack, and San Jose have been Seattle's kind of bogey team. So I
Hmm.
like Daniel as a sneaky flyer there. And then some of the value goalkeepers, guy that's returning from red card suspension is Ustari versus Philly, your beloved. I'm sorry. Although I don't think Although I think Inter Miami is a little bit better in defense, I don't think they're going to keep a clean sheet in that game. But Ustari, 4 mil, you can't lose money there. And
Yeah.
then Martin Pass, Dallas's goalkeeper at home versus Sporting Kansas City, targeting a very, very poor Sporting Kansas City side that hasn't won dating back to last September. They look like they have some pretty decent clean sheet odds, so I like
Hmm.
Pass there.
Love it. Yeah.
So I just
I
I just
mean,
listed every goalkeeper in the league.
that's this week, as you said though. Like this week, I feel like there's going to be a lot of variation amongst teams. I was curious because some of the ones that I was looking at this week, you as a Crew fan, I mean, I've been impressed with the Crew from a defensive standpoint, at least from a
Yeah.
fantasy side. So I was thinking about Schulte as well. But as a Crew fan, how do you think about like Colorado or Columbus defense in general?
I think that the Columbus defense is going to have to hold that team together. This is completely unfantasy related. They're going to have to hold that team together until we sign some DPs in the summer, probably. So the pressure is on
Yeah,
that defense. I think they've delivered so far this season. We have 3 clean sheets through the first 5 games, albeit our competition hasn't been great. DC's attack has been pretty decent. They're kind of middle of the pack so far, and a lot of their underlying numbers, but the Columbus Crew are kind of mistake prone in the back.
mm,
I also just they're one of the matchups DC versus Columbus. Just thinking about our notes for our show tonight, DC versus Columbus is one of the games that has the highest odds to go over 2.5. And Columbus isn't a team that's scoring a lot of goals, so I think Vegas is thinking that DC might get one or two.
gotcha.
Benteke is a little scary, but I definitely think there's some. I wouldn't take Schulte when we get into the defenders. I do have a Crew defender
Mm,
I will talk about. Um, so yeah, I'm not high on the Columbus Crew defense this round, although I could be swayed the other way if you gave me the right argument.
yeah. I mean, you listed out every keeper that I was looking at as well, so I like it. Cool. I know. All right, so I mean, we would have transitioned here to Blake, but Blake has also has the pleasure
Oh,
to go through defenders. So why don't
okay.
we
Wow.
keep it
Would you look
going?
at that? I completely forgot. All right. So some of my premium defenders are a lot of the St. Louis guys. I mean, most of the St. Louis defenders are premium. The one premium guy I have down here is Kessler. So
Yep.
St. Louis are one of 2 teams yet to concede at home, and Austin haven't scored an open play goal yet away from home this season. So I like that matchup on a Sunday game. Bongi Longwane, Minnesota have the best odds to keep a home clean sheet this round. Actually, last round I had Longwane and I had Oriano, and I decided to pivot off Bongi after
Mm,
Oriano just put up two because I didn't want to spend all that money on my defense. That's kind of been my MO so far this season is not spending premium dollars, but
yeah.
Bongi Longwane in this matchup this weekend, probably not a bad option against a pretty poor defensive RSL side. So if you're looking for some attacking return, he could be a guy this weekend for Minnesota. Speaking of the Crew, Shaberko, he probably
Yep.
has the safest defensive floor in MLS fantasy. So you name the week, he's probably a guy that you can consider just based upon him probably putting up 2 to 3 passes completed bonus points. He's completing about 100 passes per game. Very impressive. He's got a super, super safe floor. And then Vancouver, a couple of those guys are pretty expensive. I'm taking a look at Tristan Blackman. They have the
Mm,
second best odds to win away from home this round. And Toronto record the fewest shot creating actions per 90. And he's a pretty consistent bonus point earner for passes completed as well. And then Walker Zimmerman. They are one of the best defensive home teams in the league thus far, and Cincinnati haven't been great away from home. He's going to be really, really pricey after seeing what Evander did last weekend, although it was in Cincy. I'm a little wary of Nashville there, but he is an option based on their home numbers so far this season. Some of the standard defenders I'm taking a look at are Ali Ahmed, again from Vancouver. He's zero point 0.5 cheaper than Blackman, and he plays out of position higher up the field. He should be returning from his time with Canada. I believe he was with Canada on international duty. Andrew Gutman, again, we're targeting CF Montreal, who've been shut out in 4 straight, and Gutman has scored in 2 of his last 3. So there's some attacking upside there alongside that clean sheet potential. Back to San Jose, Dave
Yeah.
Romney. San Jose may have conceded more XG than anyone else in Major League Soccer, but the Sounders have been blanked in back-to-back games. They haven't scored a road goal yet this season, and they haven't won in San Jose in any of their last 3 matchups. He's a little bit on the pricey side. If you're looking at San Jose, maybe Ricketts.
Hmm.
So that's a value defender. I'm skipping ahead here. And then last but not least, for my standard defenders is Mamadou Fofana for the New England Revolution. They've conceded the tied fifth lowest expected goals per 90 in Major League Soccer and have the fifth lowest home expected goals against of any home team playing at home this round. And their opponents, New York Red Bulls, are one of 3 teams remaining in MLS yet to score an away goal. Again, you could preview his points in the 230 window. If you don't like Fofana there and you want to spend a little bit cheaper, you could go after, oh God, what's his name? He plays for New England. I'm going to tell you in just a sec. Will Sands, ex Columbus
Yeah.
Crew left back. I believe he's 5 mil. He could be a viable option there as a value defender if he gets the start. I believe he started last game, but I think he was an injury replacement for their left back. So just keep an eye out for lineups. And then value defenders, again, super strange week, but Finn Sermon for Portland. And
Yeah.
like most of Portland's poor underlying defensive numbers were heavily like skewed because of their 4-1 loss early in the season to
Yeah.
Vancouver. But since then, Vancouver have, what is it, a 0.75 non penalty expected goals against per 90, which is actually second best in Major League Soccer, like total, only behind Austin. So those numbers are really, really impressive. We just kind of have to change the way that we're viewing Portland. I don't think they're a good defensive side by any means, but those numbers are almost irresistible, especially at his price point. And they're playing Houston, who've only recorded 9 shots on target in 5 games, which is absolutely terrible. And
Yeah.
they've been shut out in both home games so far this season. Another Vancouver guy, Ocampo. He's been a guy I've been eyeing for Vancouver so far this season. Alex Freeman. I mean, my best MLS fantasy take
Yes.
ever when I called Alex Freeman my long shot. I pulled that one out of a hat and it hit, and I'm so excited. He had a goal and an assist last weekend, and then he's actually going to be at LA Galaxy. So I don't love road defenders, but the LA Galaxy have been pretty poor, and they record the fifth lowest non-penalty expected goals per 90 in the league. And then Duggan, he's been tried and true so far this season. He's cheap. He plays on one of the best defenses in the league, and they have some of the best clean sheet odds this weekend. So those are the guys I like.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I have a very, very similar list. Um, Definitely looking at Shaberico. Sermon's also on my radar as well. Um, I'm also, so I may be leaning with your notes here. I don't really have any New England guys. I have a Red Bull guy, so I may have to switch him over to a Revs player. So we'll see. But yeah, I like Sermon, Duggan for Minnesota as well. I did call out. I guess if Nahar's returning from international
Mhm.
duty,
Yeah.
I think he'll have a good price rise, if anything. I know they're playing Cincy, but he's just
Yep.
got that attacking upside. I see goals in that game. But yeah, you covered the majority of everything else that I've also looked at for the week. I think one other player that I'm looking at right now, mainly because I was trying to free up budget, um, was a very cheap Bombino for San Diego. I
Mm.
mean, they're playing
Yeah.
LAFC. I feel like San Diego still look pretty strong defensively. He got a 4, which I think is okay. It's better than a 2, at least for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you need a late way to free up some money, he's only 4-1 now. Yeah, it could be a decent budget shout.
Absolutely. Good shout there.
All right. So I'll give Blake a rest here. Thanks, Blake, for all of that
Thank you.
insight.
Thank you.
Love that for the goalkeepers and defenders. That all sounded great. I'll now move over into the midfielder side. So going through our premium, standard, and budget midfielders for this week. So premium, I feel like early in the season we were trying to figure out, who are the main guys that we're looking at, consistent bonus points, tried and true middies. And I think we're starting to get an idea on who those guys are. So from a premium standpoint, Rusnak, I mean, he's been a bonus point king. I know Blake said they haven't really scored too much in the past couple of games, but they are away against San Jose. If anything, he'll get you some decent bonus points. I'm not looking at him right now just because he is so expensive, but I feel like he's just a good shout for a decent floor every week. Dryer, I like a lot. I've liked him pretty much every week this year. They're at home against LAFC. They could be rotating. He had a lot of chances in that game against Austin last week. His bonus points went crazy, plenty of chances to score. So he's just so close to those goal contributions. So solid floor, high ceiling. I like Dryer a lot this year. Same goes for Ojeda. So Ojeda, Orlando is away at the Galaxy this week. He's been buzzing this season now that he's the 10 for Orlando. Galaxy lets him plenty of goals. He's been connecting really well with Pasalic and Muriel. Um, so yeah, I really like that look. And then finishing out with my premium guys, I do like DaCosta for Portland against Houston. He's looked good, decent bonus points. That's sort of what these premium guys are. It's sort of a safe option, a good floor, and they could also get plenty of goal contributions as well. And then hopping into my standard guys, Bernadeschi has like an early bench flyer. He's home against Vancouver. Should be goals. It's that Canadian sort of rivalry matchup there. So I like Bernadeschi. Espinoza, I like a lot this week because he's
Yep.
only 9 mil. And I saw last week, it was crazy. He got like 21 key passes. So he got like five
Yeah.
bonus points just from straight key passes. So I don't know if that'll continue. Um, but you love to see that. So plenty of bonus points from SV, not too expensive. Could be some goals in that matchup. I also have Gutierrez. I don't know if he's still injured from Chicago at home against Montreal. That's mainly just a matchup call out there. I like the matchup against Montreal. He's more consistent, I think, at least from a bonus point standpoint. When I was looking at Bamba and Zinkernagel, it seemed like they were pretty goal dependent, at least from the last game. Not a lot of bonus points from them, so they're sort of hit or miss. Acosta, I do like against SKC. Good matchup. He looked better last week. He's on my bench right now. I don't trust him that much yet, but I still like the look. And then BL for Charlotte away at Colorado. I didn't think he would pop off as he did last week. And I think a lot of players benefited, having him in their team last week because he was a good budget look. So good price rise, if anything, but we'll see if he can keep up that form. And then budget guys, I do like these guys. I know I mentioned the Bamba and Zinkernagel, so they're at home. Good matchup. It's just they're a bit goal dependent, so not my favorite. I know, Blake, you've been talking a lot about Moreno this year, so I like Moreno. He's in my squad right now. He's only 7.3, so he's a good fallback option for a switcheroo. Frees you up, some cash if you are looking to spend a decent amount of money on your strikers this week, as I know I am. And then a fun shout that I also have is Valakari for San Diego at home against
Oh,
LAFC. He looked good against Austin. I think because they were doing some, I don't know, replacements, their lineup was a bit different due to injuries. But he looked good. I don't know how much he is. He's in my budget section, so I don't think he's too expensive. But he had bonus points. He's connecting with Dryer a lot up top. So a fun, I guess, differential pick. I don't think a lot of people are looking at him, but I just watched that game on a Sunday last week, and he looked pretty good. So yeah, those are my middies I'm looking at. Anyone else that you're looking at, Blake?
I think the only other player that I'm considering, and I'll talk about it more on our show, is Saba Labjanidze for Atlanta. Uh, New York City FC is actually like by the expected goal differential numbers, the worst. I could be wrong about saying this. I'd have to go back and look at the notes. One of the worst away teams in the league based on those numbers. And, sometimes you just find a stat that's just too good not to use, so you have to use it in your show. I found one of those for Saba. So Saba actually leads all players in Major League Soccer for touches in the opponent's penalty area, and New York City FC allow the most touches to opposing teams in their attacking penalty area. So like they're
Nice.
letting people get into dangerous spots. Saba gets into those spots more than anybody else. Saba actually played on the right last week when Miguel Almiron was gone on international duty. Miguel Almiron will be back in the fold this weekend, so I'm interested to see kind of how that happened or how those two, where they
Yeah.
line up and how that attack looks now. Maybe it looks a little bit different because they've may have found a little bit of success and unlocked something with Saba. I believe Saba had something like 11 key passes last week. He earned some bonus points. He had a goal and an assist last time out against New York City FC. I kind of like Saba. He's a sneaky pick for me this week, but I'm like-minded in most of my other picks.
Yeah. I like it. All right. Thanks, Blake. So let's hop over into forwards. I think you'll be covering premium and standard for yourself and Brian, and then I'll go through some budget picks.
Yeah, so I got my list of premium forwards, and then I'll have to flip back over to my MLS fantasy tab and run through some standard guys really quick and give you my best options there. But Kuipers at home versus CF Montreal. Again, we're targeting Montreal. Kuipers is second in the Golden Boot race. I think he's first in expected
Yeah.
goals. He's in great form right now, playing against a pretty poor Montreal side. I like him. Kelvin Yaboa, he's in great form as well. Scored a brace last weekend against the LA Galaxy, playing against an RSL team that's giving up a ton of chances and a whole bunch of XG. So I like Kelvin Yaboa there. Both of those guys are definitely in my team. Musa for Sporting Kansas City. I know he burned us a couple weeks
Yeah.
ago. Well, he definitely burned me a couple weeks ago in the match. Forget who they were playing against, but this is a matchup that you can't really get away from. Like SKC is a team that you're going to target week in and week out until they prove you otherwise. I like Musa in this one, and then obviously Messi, but he's the name that we don't really talk about on dropping points. So I like Suarez if Messi doesn't play. He's kind of in doubt this week, at least from
Yeah.
what I've been seeing on Twitter. And then as far as our standard pricing forwards go, some of the guys I like are Luis Muriel
Mm.
for Orlando. He's going to be playing at the LA Galaxy. Him, Ojeda, Pasalic, they've been a fantastic attacking trio so far this season. Muriel was not the guy last year for Orlando. It was Enrique or Maguire, and he's finally, showed he's the DP that they signed a few years back, and he's been impressive so far this season. Latte Lath at home against New York City FC. I think that he's an intriguing option as well, right there alongside my guy Sava Labjanidze. And then we'll stay right there in the LA Orlando game as well. I like Gabriel Peck. He offers a pretty safe floor that not many other forwards in this league offer. He's shooting the ball like crazy. He can't, his accuracy is not great this year. He's not really putting them in the back of the net, not putting a ton of them on goal, but he is shooting the ball, which gets us points in MLS fantasy, and that's all we really care about. So volume is king, and he gets that volume. So I kind of like Gabriel Peck there, although he's not in my team right now. But those are my
Yeah.
standard guys that I was able to come up with real quick.
No, I like it. I guess while we're on the topic of standard, maybe not someone to pick this week as they're up against St. Louis, but someone to keep an eye on, I think, is Brandon Vasquez in Austin.
Sure. Yeah.
I feel like they're starting to click a bit more.
Hmm.
He was someone that we looked at when he played for Cincinnati, and he showed last week why he is such a solid striker. It was just a classy finish, getting around the keeper, very composed. So I expect to see him, continue to produce for Austin. So just keep your eye out for him, further along in the season. I think he's only like 7-3 right now, so not too expensive.
Yeah.
In in these budget guys that I'm going to talk about, I mean, I would recommend spending a good amount of money on your strikers this week. Strikers or forwards have shown in fantasy this year they're one to spend your money on. They've been generating bonus points. Um, so at least here are some flyer options. Kerr with Toronto. I know I always say
Mm.
don't pick Toronto players except Bernadeschi. But he's a bench flyer. I think he scored in his past two games. So he's
Yeah.
getting those header crosses because he can get up there from Bernadeschi or anyone else putting the ball in. So if you need to free up some budget, he could be worth a bench flyer pick. And then another one, not super high on, but Ramirez from the Galaxy, if he's
Mm.
starting, he has been scoring.
Yeah.
And they're up against Orlando, who's not the strongest defensively. So I like Peck, Ramirez, those guys this week from a
Hmm.
fantasy perspective. But I mean, for me, I'm looking at the pricey strikers this week, your Kuipers, your Yeboah. But yeah, if you need to free up some budget, we got some good options as well.
I think I would be doing Brian an injustice right now if I did not say the name Patrick Agyemang.
I like it. Definitely a good budget option as well this week. Even
Yeah,
though Brian's not here, he's still here with the
in
Yajiman
spirit.
shout. Exactly.
Agyemang high for sure.
I love it. Cool. All right, well, let's finish up with your captain recommendations. I don't know if you got any from Brian, but Blake, if you've got any captains that you're looking at this week.
I don't have any from Brian right now. Some captains I'm probably considering are just looking at my lineup right now. My armband is on Hadi Mukhtar. I think that was just by default. I think that's just where it landed. I'm not sure if you listed him in your premium mids, but I have him in my team right now. I like Ojeda
Yeah.
quite a bit. I like Ojeda. Obviously Lionel Messi if he is in the starting 11. Gosh, I haven't even really thought about forward yet this week. Man, Dryer's a good option. I mean,
Hmm.
there's so many good midfielders this round. Dryer might have one of the better floors, and he's at home because of that bonus point production. I like Dryer. I would say he's probably a leading candidate there just because of that floor, that bonus point production. I like Ojeda just because of what the points that he's been putting up recently. The form that he's in to start the season is crazy. Those are
Yeah.
probably my two leading candidates as of right now. A stretch for me might be Lucho Acosta, but I like that matchup so much that it could be a flyer I'm, willing to take.
Yeah, I think I did miss Hani from a Nashville standpoint. I think he's looked great this season. It's
Yeah.
definitely something to look at. But from a captain standpoint, for me, I'm in the same boat. I like Dryer, same reasons. I like Ojeda, same reasons. And then I do have Messi in my lineup just so I know I have enough budget should he
Yep.
start. And then, the captain armband would fall on him if he does start. But we know how that's gone this season. So it's been its own game in itself, just keeping an eye if Messi's starting or not. But yeah, you'll have plenty of options to switch to should he not start this weekend against Philly. But yeah, I mean that wraps up our player picks. Again, I just want to thank Blake for joining us on the show this week. It's been a lot of fun. And again, if you haven't subscribed to Drop In Points, be sure to wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow them on Twitter. Blake, anything else you want to say to any shout outs or anything before we end the show?
Yeah, Gavin, we got 2 minutes left on this recording. You're not sneaking out of here without a start bench sell, man.
Oh, yes.
Can't forget that. All right, here we go. Rapid, just rapid fire, okay? Luis Muriel at home, not no, away versus the LA
Hmm.
Galaxy. Latte Lath versus New York City FC and Christian Benteke at home versus the Columbus Crew. Start bench
All right.
sell.
Start for me is Muriel, just because he's been in such good form. And the Galaxy are pretty weak right now, letting in goals. They're a bit shaky. So he's the start for me. And then Benteke and Latte Laut. This is a very good start bench sell. So I'm going to bench Benteke just because he has such a solid, floor with bonus points this year. Normally he was just a hit or miss, put him on your bench, hope for the best. But this year he has been, creating those bonus points. And then Latte Lot, the reason why he's a sell for me is just because looking at his points this year so far, it's been pretty goal dependent. Like he has just been the striker depending on goals.
Yep.
So I like bonus points. I like that floor. I like that feeling of, safe bonus points throughout the week. So yeah, Latte Lot is a sell for me.
Okay. I respect it. I love that you started Luis Muriel. That was
I'm
probably two.
surprised I said that. I can't believe I just said that. I would never say that, but last week changed my mind.
Yeah, he's been in incredible form. Orlando scored more goals than anybody else in Major League Soccer. He's playing alongside Ojeda Pasalic. That was a no-brainer. I could have come up with something better, but that was your first start bench sell, and I think those were three good decisions. But yeah, any closing words for me? Gavin, thank you for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. Again, sorry that Brian couldn't make it on. You'll have to
No
have Brian
worries.
on next time without me.
Yeah.
He's a much smarter guy. He's got great ball knowledge, so it'll be a good time whenever you can have Brian on the show. But yeah, thanks for having me on. And guys, if you don't already listen to Dropping Points, listen to us wherever you guys listen to podcasts. Follow us over on Twitter, and yeah, good luck this round, guys. Gavin, thanks again.
Cheers.
All right, so that wraps up this week's video. Again, thanks so much for Blake and Brian for coming on today's episode. It'll be good to catch up with them again soon. And as always, good luck.